In medieval villages, beer wasn't just a drink for adults, it was a daily staple for everyone, including children. The idea of a family gathering around a wooden table, each person with their own mug of beer, might sound strange to us today, but in the Middle Ages it was completely normal. The reason for this widespread beer consumption was simple. Water was often unsafe to drink. Rivers and wells could be contaminated, and diseases spread easily through unclean water. Brewing beer required boiling the water, which killed off harmful bacteria and made it much safer to drink. The beer they drank, known as small beer, was very different from the strong ales we think of today. It was weak in alcohol, sometimes less than 2%, but it was rich in nutrients, packed with calories, and often cloudy from the grains left behind. In many ways, it was more like a nourishing, drinkable bread than a modern beverage. For peasants, small beer was a vital source of energy. Working long hours in the fields required stamina, and this drink provided both hydration and much-needed calories. It was a practical solution to the challenges of medieval life, fueling workers through grueling days. Even children drank a diluted version of small beer. It was considered much safer than water, and provided essential nutrients for growing bodies. Parents knew that giving their children beer was a way to keep them healthy and strong, not a cause for concern. Beer in the Middle Ages wasn't about getting drunk or celebrating. It was about survival, health, and community. Sharing a mug of beer was a daily ritual, a way to connect with others and ensure everyone had something safe to drink. Picture a typical morning. A family sits down to breakfast, each person with a mug of cloudy, weak beer instead of water. This was the norm, not the exception, and it set the tone for the day ahead. The father might drink his beer before heading out to the fields, the mother sips hers while preparing food, and the children have their own small mugs. This simple routine was repeated in homes across medieval Europe, day after day. For these villagers, beer was a staple, not a luxury. It was as common as bread, woven into the fabric of daily life. No one thought twice about it, it was just what you drank. This reliance on beer reminds us just how different their world was from ours. Clean, running water was unheard of, and people had to be resourceful to survive. Brewing beer was one of the clever solutions they developed to meet their basic needs. So next time you picture a medieval peasant, imagine them pausing from their hard work, taking a long, refreshing drink from a wooden mug. That simple act was a lifeline, keeping them safe from illness and giving them the strength to carry on. That humble drink was more than just refreshment. It was a source of health, energy, and even happiness. It helped build strong bodies and resilient communities. The simple act of brewing beer reveals the challenges and ingenuity of medieval life. It shows how people adapted to their environment, using the resources they had to create something essential. In a world without modern plumbing or filtration, finding clean water was a daily struggle. Survival depended on finding creative answers to basic problems. Sometimes that answer came in the form of a humble, nourishing beer, simple, effective, and life-sustaining. The daily ritual of sharing beer tells us a lot about their world. It was about more than just quenching thirst. It was about community, survival, and ingenuity. When we look back at the role of beer in medieval life, we see a window into the resourcefulness and resilience of the past, a reminder of how people found ways to thrive, even in the face of hardship. Medieval peasant homes were more than just mud huts. They were practical, clever shelters, built with wattle and daub, woven branches covered in a mix of clay, straw, and even dung. These houses were sturdy and well-insulated. Thatched roofs kept out the rain, and packed earth floors were covered with straw or herbs for cleanliness. Small shuttered windows let in light and air, while a central hearth provided heat and a place to cook. Smoke drifted out through the thatch, preserving the roof and keeping insects away. Families and even animals often shared the same space, with livestock's body heat warming the home in winter. These houses, though simple, were designed with local knowledge to protect both people and animals. They were a testament to medieval ingenuity and adaptation. In medieval times, life moved to the rhythm of the sun. There were no ticking clocks or digital alarms, just the slow, steady rise of daylight and the tolling of the church bell to mark the hours. The sun was both a guide and a taskmaster, shaping every moment of the day for villagers and peasants alike. Each day began at first light, when families would gather for a simple breakfast, often just coarse bread and weak ale, enough to fuel the long hours ahead. Meals were humble, but they brought everyone together before the day's work began. Men and boys headed out to the fields, their labor changing with the turning seasons. In spring, they plowed the earth, preparing it for new crops. Summer brought endless weeding and tending, while autumn was a time of intense harvest, gathering what the land had given. Winter, when the fields rested, was spent repairing tools and preparing for the next cycle. Inside, women kept the home running, cooking hearty meals over open hearths, and making sure everything was ready for the cold months. Their days were filled with baking bread, brewing ale, spinning wool for clothing, and tending to vegetable gardens that provided vital food. Every task was essential, and nothing went to waste. Even children played their part, helping in the gardens, gathering firewood, or feeding chickens. From a young age, everyone learned the value of hard work and cooperation. As the sun dipped low, families reunited for supper. The evening meal was often a simple vegetable stew called pottage, simmered slowly and shared by all. It was a time to rest, talk, and reflect on the day's efforts. After dark, with candles precious and expensive, most people went to bed early. The darkness was respected, and sleep was a way to restore energy for another demanding day. Life was a continuous cycle of work and rest, all dictated by the rising and setting of the sun. The daylight hours were precious, and every moment was used wisely. Every day was shaped by the needs of the land and the family, with everyone contributing to the survival and well-being of the community. In the end, it was the sun that set the pace for everything, its rhythm guiding the lives, hopes, and dreams of all who lived beneath its light. The medieval peasant diet was simple and hearty. Dark, dense bread made from rye or barley was the main food. Wheat was reserved for the Lord. Pottage, a thick stew of peas, beans, and garden vegetables, simmered over the fire all day. Meat was rare. Pigs were sometimes slaughtered in autumn, and chickens provided eggs. Peasants couldn't hunt game, only the nobility could. Wild fruits, nuts, and herbs added variety and flavor. Honey was the main sweetener, as sugar was a luxury. Meals were repetitive but nourishing, sourced from their own land. Their food was about survival, not excitement. It kept them strong for the hard work ahead. A medieval village was a web of roles and responsibilities. Most people were peasants, serfs tied to the land, working for the Lord in exchange for a small plot. Freemen rented land and had more freedom, but life was still tough. Essential craftspeople included the blacksmith, who made tools, and the miller, who ground grain for flour. The priest led the church and was often one of the few who could read and write. The reeve, a peasant overseer, managed work on the Lord's land. Each person's role was vital to the community's survival. Everyone depended on each other, from the lowest serf to the village leaders. This complex social fabric kept the village running. Cooperation was the key to making it through each year. The medieval year was a cycle of relentless work, shaped by the seasons. After autumn's harvest, villagers plowed fields for winter crops, pooling oxen to get the job done. Winter meant indoor tasks, repairing tools, spinning wool, and caring for animals. Spring brought urgent planting, barley, oats, beans, and the birth of new livestock. Vegetable gardens were sown for the coming months. Summer was spent weeding fields and making hay to feed animals through winter. Women and children worked alongside men, everyone's hands needed. Each season brought its own challenges and tasks. The entire village worked together, sharing resources and labor. This cycle of plowing, planting, weeding, and harvesting defined their existence. There was no rest, just the rhythm of the land. Survival depended on teamwork and timing. The year's labors never truly ended. Medieval life wasn't all work. Festivals brought joy and relief from the daily grind. These lively gatherings were a welcome break from the routine of farming, chores, and hard labor, offering villagers a chance to come together and celebrate. Holy days tied to the church calendar meant rest and celebration for everyone. These days were often the only times when the entire community could pause, reflect, and enjoy each other's company, making them deeply anticipated throughout the year. Christmas lasted 12 days with feasts and greenery decorating homes. Families would gather around roaring fires, sharing stories and songs, while the scent of spiced food filled the air, making the season truly magical. Easter marked the end of Lent and the arrival of spring, celebrated with games and special meals. Villagers enjoyed egg rolling, singing, and the first fresh foods of the season, symbolizing new beginnings and hope. These festivals were vital social events, uniting the community. They allowed neighbors to reconnect, share news, and strengthen friendships that were essential for village life. Agricultural celebrations like Plough Monday and May Day brought music, dancing, and colorful traditions. Villagers would weave ribbons around the maypole, sing folk songs, and enjoy the vibrant sights and sounds of the season. The Harvest Festival was the biggest event, celebrating a successful year with a communal feast. Tables overflowed with bread, cheese, and roasted meats, and everyone from the youngest child to the oldest elder joined in the gratitude and merriment. These moments of joy broke up the hard work and strengthened community bonds. Laughter, music, and shared traditions helped everyone feel connected and valued. Festivals were a chance to share food, laughter, and hope. They reminded everyone that, even in difficult times, there was always something to celebrate together. They reminded villagers of the good in life, even during tough times. The warmth of community and the joy of celebration offered comfort and strength to face the challenges ahead. Celebrations gave everyone something to look forward to. Children eagerly anticipated games and treats, while adults found renewed energy and hope in these shared experiences. They were essential for the spirit of the village, bringing happiness, unity, and a sense of belonging to all. Community was built as much on joy as on labor, and these celebrations were the heartbeat of medieval village life. Life in a medieval village was fragile and uncertain. Sickness was ever present, simple infections could be deadly, and medicine was limited to herbs and hope. Disease spread quickly in close quarters, and child mortality was high. Weather was a constant threat. Drought, floods, or storms could destroy crops and bring famine. Villagers watched the skies anxiously, knowing their survival depended on nature's whims. The lord of the manor controlled land, mills, and ovens, demanding taxes and labor from peasants. Even in death, families paid a harriet, a tax of their best animal. These burdens made life even harder for struggling families. Yet villagers showed resilience, helping each other through hardship. Shared challenges created strong community bonds. Survival meant relying on neighbors as much as on luck. Hardship was faced together, not alone. In medieval villages, community was everything. Fields were divided into strips, forcing families to work together and share both good and bad land. Cooperation was essential. Everyone agreed on when to plant and harvest. After harvest, animals grazed the fields, another shared resource. Neighbors helped rebuild homes, tend land, and care for children. Women shared knowledge and supported each other during childbirth and illness. This web of mutual support was the village's safety net. Life was tough, but resilience and cooperation made survival possible. Their world was different, but the need for community is timeless. Thanks for joining us. Subscribe for more journeys into the past.